Sunny Bunny by Nina Wilcox Putnam. There once was a very respectable and hard-working rabbit named Sunny Bunny who lived under a little mound in the midst of a wide field. And in this pleasant home of his, there lived with him his good wife and their 10 children. And my, what a good time they had! There was the whole wide field in which to play, and the sweet grasses and little berries to eat, and the bunny children were always good and happy, and brushed their soft little white tails every morning, and came when their mother called them. The mother worked hard at the housekeeping and the sewing, and was very careful to make things go as far and last as long as possible. And she was always full of fun, and every Sunday she wore a lovely white apron made of daisy petals. In the summer, Sunny Bunny would just go out anywhere in the neighborhood and bring home plenty of supper from the fields, wild carrot and clover, and all sorts of delicious grasses. In the winter there were berries in the hedges, although these were pretty hard work to find. But Sunny Bunny was a good, conscientious father rabbit, and he never complained, but always did his best for his family, for he dearly loved them all. And so sometimes in the cold season, he would be gone for hours in the moonlight, skimming over the snow for all he was worth, and leaving 3 tracks on the sparkling surface where he put his forepaws close together and brought up his hind paws. But he never came back empty-handed, and for this his wife would praise him. "What a good husband you are, Sonny," she would say, and all the family would beam on him, and he would beam back, and they would all feel extra happy and contented as well they might. But one year things did not go quite so well. The farmer who owned the field on one side plowed it up, so the grass on that side was done for. Then the farmer on the other side of Sunny Bunny's field plowed up his meadow also, so that grass was gone, and with it went the last hope for Sunny Bunny and his family. "Oh dear," said Sunny Bunny to his wife, "oh dear, I am so worried. Of course they will plant things, and in time there will be nice lettuce and other vegetables where the grass used to be, but that won't do us any good." For you see, Sunny was a very honest rabbit who would not even dream of taking what did not belong to him. "But we still have our own field," said his wife. "That is true," said Sunny Bunny, "but who knows when they will plow it up also?" "Well, don't worry till it happens," she said, trying to be cheerful. But in truth, she really shared his foreboding. And sure enough, their worst fears were realized, for in mid-April, when all the winter berries were gone and the young grasses were still very scant, the farmer who owned Sunny's field plowed it up without a word of warning. Now it was bad enough to have this happen just for the loss of the grass, but alack-a-day, the farmer plowed it right through Sunny Bunny's house, which of course was underground. It upset the chairs and the tables and the little stoves and the beds and the china mugs, one for each little bunny, and took the roof right off from over their heads. The excitement that this caused was terrific, as you may well imagine. The 10 children ran about wildly, and their mother had a hard time quieting them down again. And for once, even she was all upset. "Oh me, oh my! What shall we do now?" she cried. And poor Sunny Bunny shook his gray head. Indeed, matters have come to a dreadful pass when one's house has been plowed all to bits. "My dear," he said bravely, "I think there is no doubt but that we shall have to move." and he smiled from ear to ear. "But where shall we go?" his wife asked anxiously. "All the land hereabouts has been made into gardens where rabbits are not welcome. And if you go one way, there is a town, and if you go the other way, there is another town. Oh me, oh my, whatever will become of us?" Sunny Bunny comforted his good wife as best he could. "We will surely find some place," he said to her cheerfully, though he could not help feeling greatly troubled. "Well then," said his wife, "what shall we do?" Sunny Bunny thought hard for a moment, and then he had an idea. "I'll tell you what," he said. "We'll take our little cart and put the beds and the little stove and the tables and the chairs into it, and you and I will pull the cart along, and each of the children can carry his own china mug and bib and spoon, and pretty soon we will surely come to some place where we can make a new home." And when he had said this, Sunny Bunny smiled from ear to ear again. When his good wife saw him smile like that, she smiled too, and so did all the children. Then she put up some lunch in a red bandana handkerchief, and then they got out their little cart, which had 2 wheels and a long handle, and had once belonged to the farmer's little boy who had left it in the field, but who was now grown up and did not need it any more. And I am sure you have seen lots of little carts just like it. And when they had gotten out the cart, Sunny and his wife filled it with chairs and the tables and the beds and the little stove and the red bandana handkerchief with the lunch tied up in it, and each little bunny took his own china mug and bib and spoon to carry, and they all set off down the road in a very cheery procession, considering their troubles. And as they went, Sunny Bunny would sing and whistle, which is something I expect you have never heard a rabbit do. But this one was going to keep up his courage, no matter what happened. And I am sure you have often heard of whistling to keep up your courage. For quite a long time they traveled along the road without seeing a single place which was not all planted out by some farmer or too near the road where people were passing all the time, or was for some other reason not suited to them. And then when they were quite tired and dusty, Sunny Bunny looked up at the sky and decided that it was about time for lunch. So they chose a lovely place under a beautiful flowering apple tree with pink blossoms on it. And Mother Bunny made the 10 children all lick their paws and noses and brush their little white tails, which is a rabbit way of making oneself tidy. And when they were all quite neat and fresh, she opened up the red bandana handkerchief, and they all sat around and had their lunch. When the last morsel was gone, Sunny Bunny said they must be moving on. For he said, "We are rested now and no longer hungry, and we must find some place before night." So he and Mother Bunny took hold of the little cart, and the little bunnies each took his own china mug and bib and spoon to carry, and Sunny Bunny started whistling again, and off they set down the road. Just as they had turned the corner, along came a farmer with a great big red wagon and 2 gray horses. The horses reared and plunged, and the farmer shouted and drove very fast and very carelessly, so that he nearly ran over the bunny family, and they spilled all their belongings over the road and had to run helter-skelter for safety. When at last the careless farmer had passed by, Sunny Bunny began getting his family together, and the first thing he did was to count them all to make sure no one was missing. And there they all were, the 10 children and Mother Bunny. "Thank goodness," said Sunny. "It's not as bad as it might have been." "Oh, dear me," cried his wife. "All our things are scattered, and we shall have all the trouble of picking them up." "Never mind," said Sunny. We will make a game of it, and then no one will mind a bit." So Sunny Bunny made all the children and his wife and himself stand in a row on a line, which he drew in the earth with a stick. "Now at the word go," he said, "everyone will run and begin picking up the things, and the one who picks up the most shall win an apple blossom to wear in his hat." So when they were all in a row, he cried out, "1, 2, 3, go!" And off went the bunnies, and before you could say Jack Rabbit, the chairs and the tables and the little stove and the beds were all back in the cart, and each little bunny had his own china mug and bib and spoon, and they were ready to start off again, with Happy, the oldest boy, wearing the prize. So Sunny Bunny led them through the fields this time, and he and Mother Bunny still pulling at the cart and getting rather tired. But Sunny kept whistling, and it made them feel all better, and at any rate they were off the dangerous roads. But now a new trouble faced them, for the sun disappeared behind some big black clouds, and the first thing they knew it began to rain. "Oh, dear me, what shall we do now?" said Mother, who was very anxious about her children. "Why, let me think," said Sunny Bunny. He thought hard for a moment or two while a few big fat raindrops splashed about. Then he had an idea. "Why," he said, "we need not worry. Here is a fine plantain weed, and we shall take shelter under it and play that we are gypsy rabbits and make a little fire and keep warm and dry." So they took the little cart with the 2 wheels that had all the furniture in it and put it under one big leaf of the plantain weed. The children piled up their little china mugs and bibs and spoons under another smaller plantain leaf, and then the whole family sat down under the very biggest plantain leaf of all. They made a little fire, and Sunny whistled for them, so that their courage kept up splendidly, even though the rain was pattering on the leaves over their heads like anything. "Farmers say that plantain weeds are no good," said Sunny Bunny, "but this plantain weed has been very kind to us, and really and truly everything that grows has some use, if only you take the trouble to find out what it is." Then after a little while the sun came out, and they started on their journey again. Sunny and his wife pulled the little cart with the chairs and tables and the little beds, and each bunny carried his own china mug and bib and spoon. They went across the fields, and Sunny Bunny whistled to keep their courage up, and by they came to a splendid place to live. At least it looked so at first. It was a hole in the side of a hill, with lots of rocks on it, and no earth or grass very near, but such a neat entrance. Mother Bunny was delighted. "I can sweep the doorstep every morning with my little broom," she said. As you know, all animals can tell things by their sense of smell better than any other. So Sunny Bunny smelled at the rocks of the doorway and could smell no animal living there. For you see, the rain had washed the stones clean. "Well," said Sunny, "I believe this is the place for us." So very cheerfully they began to move in. But before they took their furniture from the little cart, they went into the hole and looked about them. It was very large and roomy, and nice and dry, and Sunny thought it would do splendidly. But suddenly they heard someone coming, and in another moment there was a big red fox glaring at them from the doorway. "Here," said the big red fox, "get right out of my house this very minute." "Certainly," said Sunny, quite alarmed and with all his family standing close behind him. "Certainly, we will go at once. But won't you allow me to explain how we came to intrude?" No, no, said the big red fox very crossly. Get out of here right away. And so the poor bunnies were forced to get out and take up their little cart and their china mugs and bibs and spoons and set off once more. And this time it was very hard for Sunny Bunny to whistle to keep his courage up, because it was getting to be sunset, and they were all very tired, and they had as yet found no place to live. At last, Mother Bunny just sat down on a mossy bank and said she could go no further. I am too tired, said Mother Bunny, and so are the children. Well, said Sunny Bunny, let me sit and think a minute. So Sunny Bunny thought a minute, and then he had an idea. I tell you what we'll do, said Sunny Bunny. You and the children stay here and rest, and I'll go on alone and surely find some place. So Sunny Bunny comforted them as best he could, and leaving his wife and 10 children and their little cart and the china mugs and bibs and spoons behind, he set off alone, still whistling to keep his courage up. After a while he sat down to rest beside a garden wall. The wall was a friendly one of warm red bricks, not very high, and pretty soon Sunny Bunny saw there were 2 children sitting on top of it, a boy and a girl. They were both about the same size, and they were crying. At this sight, Sunny Bunny forgot all about his own troubles. He hopped over to them and said most kindly, "Dearie me, what can the matter?" Bobby, the boy, and Betty, the girl, looked up at this very much surprised, both at seeing a rabbit and at being spoken to by one. But children and rabbits are friends by nature, and so the children quickly remembered their manners and answered him politely. "How do you do?" said Bobby the boy. "We are crying because we are so disappointed." "That seems a good reason," replied Sunny Bunny. "But may I ask what disappointed you?" "You may," said Betty the girl. "It's the guinea pigs. Our uncle promised us some guinea pigs for pets, and we built a splendid house for them," Bobby the boy chimed in. "With 3 rooms and the dearest little doors and windows," Betty the girl added. "And a beautiful yard," said Bobby the boy. "And we have carrots and lettuce and everything to feed them with. And now our uncle says he can't get any guinea pigs," said Betty the girl, and they both began to cry. "Oh, don't do that," exclaimed Sunny Bunny in distress. "Please don't." In order not to make him feel so badly, they both tried to dry their tears, but did not succeed very well. "But we feel so badly," they said. A perfectly splendid idea came to Sunny. "How would you like to have me and my family come to live in the house you made for the guinea pigs?" he asked. "Oh," said Bobby the boy, "that would be delightful." "How splendid," said Betty the girl. "How many are there in the family?" "My wife and 10 lovely children," replied Sunny Bunny. "Why, we would love to have you," replied both the children. "Then we will strike a bargain," said Sunny Bunny in a businesslike manner. "I will agree to hire myself and my family out to you as pets. On our part, we will agree to be gentle and tame and affectionate, and on your part you must agree to feed us well and give us a nice house and never tickle our whiskers or noses." "Yes, yes," shouted the children, laughing and clapping their hands with glee. "Oh, run quickly and bring the others." "Indeed I will," said Sunny Bunny, and with a parting flicker of his little white tail he was off down the road to fetch his wife and children. When he told them the good news, they were all delighted and waved their ears and skipped about joyfully. Then they gathered up the wagon with the chairs and the tables and the beds and the china and the little stove and everything which the farmer and his plow had scattered so rudely. Each little bunny took his china mug and bib and spoon, and then they formed into a procession ready to start. "Forward, march," said Sunny Bunny, and he led the way. In no time they arrived at the friendly brick wall where Bobby the boy and Betty the girl were anxiously awaiting them. When the children saw that the bunny family had actually arrived to stay, they shouted and laughed in welcome, and greeting them almost cordially, they led them in through a little gate and around and back of a most promising vegetable garden to where, under a blossoming apple tree, there stood the dearest little house imaginable in a lovely yard full of sweet straw and with a feast of fresh carrots and lettuce, all ready and waiting. The bunnies did not wait for a second invitation to enter and take possession of their new home. They put away their belongings at once and then began nibbling the welcome dinner, while Bobby the boy and Betty the girl stroked their fur gently. After a while, the mother of Bobby and Betty came out into the garden and was very much surprised to see the bunny family there. Nor did she ever quite believe how the children had gotten them, for grown-up folks cannot understand rabbit language. But Sunny Bunny and his family were true to their part of the bargain, and Bobby the boy and Betty the girl were true to theirs, and so they all lived happily ever after. The end.